morning, Wareham. It is Wednesday, August 28th, and we have a great show here for you. The news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. This morning, learn about healthy cooking and healthy eating from Karen McHugh. Also, prepare to laugh out loud thanks to laughter yoga. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned, because the weather and the news headlines are next. There is a 70% chance of rain today. Supposedly rain will come sometime in the afternoon. Today, high at 77. Thunderstorms are also a possibility. Tonight, low at 68. Tomorrow, we'll have some rain as well. Partly cloudy skies during the day, high at 84. And clear skies at night with low at 59. And there were plenty of news stories coming up at the news headlines. Wareham Week had the following stories. Bye-bye Toby Homestead. In place of the historic building, the Toby Hospital will build an emergency room extension as the project received approval from the Historic District Commission on Thursday, May 23rd. Also, Deacon's School alumni gathered on Monday night to celebrate school's 50th anniversary and open a time capsule from the ancient, mysterious world of 1994. What did they find inside? Some dirt and roots that had broken through, but also artifacts that of precious memories of their childhood and fun student days. Take a look.
25 years ago. Miss Ansel, our school secretary, who has been here at Deacon's for some time now, had a map on her desk that said to be opened in 2019, and I said, well, what is this? And she said, oh, Bethany, we have to open it. It's from 25 years ago, and it's buried somewhere in the courtyard. I said, oh, how fantastic. So we began thinking about how we would do it, and we thought that we should have students from today, from present day, and our students from then be invited. So I put it on Facebook with a big invitation. 13,000 people saw it. They were so excited, sharing memories on Facebook. It was really amazing. And we have quite a few alumni here tonight to celebrate when we opened up that time capsule. Well, I want to welcome all of you back to Deacon's School, whether it's now, today, or from 25 years ago. If you just retired and you're back, I'm so happy. Thank you. Welcome all of you. The reason why we're opening it tonight and today is it's our 50th anniversary at Deacon's School. And the people that put this together, the students from 25 years ago, asked us to open it on our 50th anniversary. So without further ado, Mr. Santos and Ms. Hazlitt are going to open up the time capsule from 1994. There. So it appears each grade put materials in here to preserve. We have Play-Doh, still relevant 25 years later, a little wet. Yeah, this is so cool. Look, Legos. It could be just like we put this time capsule together yesterday. We've got Legos. I guess we thought 25 years ago Legos wouldn't be in, but they're way in, and more in than ever. Wow, this is, oh, and an advertisement says charge it, and they are bicycles. Oh, it says Play-Doh. I like to play with Play-Doh because it is smushy and fun to make stuff. It smells bad. It comes in lots of colors. It comes from the makers of Play School. This is from Katie Latham. Allison R. in Miss Pearson's class, grade 2. Okay, in this grade 3, we have Nickelodeon GAC Splat. I don't know what that is. I guess that did go away after 25 years. Yeah, Nickelodeon GAC Splat. Oh, Power Rangers. That was popular in 1994. Oh, and a Polly Pocket. I saw it on Facebook that someone put their Polly Pocket in here. Let's read. There's directions. Polly Pocket. Girls like Polly Pockets because they are fun to use. Polly Pockets come with other Polly Pocket things. Some girls like Polly Pockets because you can do a lot of things like put them in your pocket. There you go. Some people like it because you can bring it wherever you go. From Kerry Weisberg in Miss Tomlinson's class. Miss Tomlinson's here representing tonight too. And there's the Polly Pocket. We're going to have these on display in a wonderful case all throughout the year for all of us to look at. Oh, and then we have an advertisement, your choice. Oh, it looks like I know Sonic. Sonic was out in 1994. He's still around today, too. Not much has changed. Oh, this is about GAC. GAC is sticky and mushy. It is fun. GAC is made from Nickelodeon, the only network for kids. Well, not so true anymore. If it dries out, put it in the sink for a few days. Brian Tonelli in Miss Sims' class. Okay, Miss Sims couldn't be with us tonight because she's away in her wonderful retirement travels. Oh, did you just see yourself, Miss Hampley? Did you see yourself? Okay. Oh, this is the letter Miss Haslett wrote on John W. Deacon School. Leo Peduzzi, principal. Melissa Drake, assistant principal. June 2nd, 1994. Dear Deacon School students of 2019, as librarian of Deacon School and coordinator of the project to create this time capsule with our students, may I congratulate you on the 50th anniversary of your school. You should read this, Deb. You should be the one reading this. Our time capsule was created to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Deacon School and leave it with future students a little part of what life was like at Deacon School in 1994. This project was totally student-driven, with committees representing each grade responsible for producing each grade's donation to the time capsule. There is much excitement and enthusiasm among the students and teachers about this project. We wonder if perhaps one of our students is principal. I was a freshman in college. A teacher or a parent present at your celebration. We have that tonight. We have our parents. We have students from 25 years ago. Nice to see you all. And maybe a reporter covering the story for the newspaper. We've got the reporters and TV here tonight too. Each grade's contribution to the time capsule are as follows. Kindergarten, student pictures, signatures, t-shirt. Grade 1, got a t-shirt in there? Grade 2, report card. I look forward to seeing that. School logo and toys. Grade 3, newspaper, front page and toys. Grade 4, photo album. And a 1994 penny. We still have those around. Grade 5, letter to students and signature scroll. I think that you just put that out there too. Sincerely, Deborah Haslett, librarian. And this is Miss Haslett today. 25 years later. Then I will let you all go around. Oh, look at this. This is so wonderful. Wareham Courier, June 9th, 1944. No, we're not going that far back. 1994. I have Elizabeth Whitehouse, Kristen Frederico, Danny Mayer, Marcy Harris, and Ryan Bellevue. He's going to be a doctor. Marcy is going to be a teacher. Danny, he's going to be a doctor too, and he's going to have some wife and kids. Kristen is going to work as a lawyer. And she's going to be a mom, and she's going to have a husband too. And Elizabeth Whitehouse, she's going to be a mother, and she's going to work as a teacher. And can you add that I'll have another husband or something? I'll have a husband. So there it is, Wareham Courier. How wonderful. We'll put this all on display.
So what are you planning to do with the time capsule?
We're going to put it on display at Deacon's School, so it'll be available for open houses this year and any of our events. So we're going to put it in one of our display cases for everyone in the community to see.
So does it mean, did you guys follow on the tradition? Did you bury something this year?
Not yet. We were thinking about doing it for the new school, but it is something that we are talking about collecting together.
So you were the student and you were the teacher 25 years ago?
It was probably 27 at this point. Yeah.
27.
Yes.
We just met after
Yes.
many years.
Yes.
I had her in 3rd grade, and then for the capsule, you were in 5th grade.
Mr. Lanaville. Awesome.
Tell me how things were different back then compared to now, 25 years later.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? It still smells the same in here. It still has the same. I walked through those doors and I said, oh boy, right back in time.
I think our class sizes were larger then. I remember having maybe 30 students in my class, and now 20, 25. So.
It was a great time just to see some of the things that came out of that time capsule. Oh my goodness, in 1994, I was a baby, newly born baby, a child. And I cannot believe people were putting that time capsule in 1994. It seems like ancient away, but some of those things are still relevant today. All right, anyhow, we're going to take a break and we'll be back.
Hi everybody, I'm Letitia Botino from WCTV, and I'm here with
Marie Ferrara from the Wareham Middle School Care Program, Operation Grandpals.
Missy Diezik, the director of the Wareham Council on Aging.
Taylor Gold, the activity director at All American Assisted Living in Wareham.
and we're here at the Operation Grandpals Luncheon in Wareham in the middle school library. So what is this event about and how did it start?
The class started 3 years ago. CARE has a lot of different classes like drama, gardening, music, chorus, and we wanted something new and refreshing. So we started to see that the seniors and the students were lacking a connection. So we decided to start an intergenerational program that bridged that gap between the young and the older generation. And that's the birth of Operation Grandpals.
I am the activity director, and Marie contacts me and she sets up visits to come over to visit our residents over at the All American Assisted Living.
I run the Council on Aging right across the way, so this is a great opportunity. We can walk right over here and the kids can walk right over to the Council on Aging and entertain us and interact with our seniors, which is great.
This is the last week of CARE, so the students run the class. I just approve everything. They facilitate the whole thing, from the luncheon with Kathy Martin and ask her if she would be willing to, in her cooking class, cook food for them, and she baked cookies, to the decorations, going to the other classes and asking them to create things for the luncheon. They email everybody, they take care of everything. So they were instrumental in the whole luncheon process of emailing the invitations, emailing the media, calling Lindsay's, who donated the salad for this luncheon. We only have 5 weeks. So in 5 weeks, this was the result of what the students did.
Welcome back. Anyhow, so are you ready to laugh out loud? You should prepare yourself. Here comes laughter yoga. Work out your risible muscles during an hour of laughter yoga. This latest health craze is sweeping the world, where people can laugh without a reason.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ha, 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 ha.
But this is a whole hour class
Correct.
specifically to laugh.
And people love it. Did you like it?
I loved it. I didn't think I was going to make it a whole hour.
In India,
In India.
they laugh every single day. Every single day they meet at a park and they laugh before they go to work. If I could do it 3 days a week, I would do that. I would do that, yes.
Laughter yoga was born in India in 1995 by Dr. Madan Kataria, also known as the guru of giggling. The exercise combines laughter exercises with yoga breathing, which bring more oxygen to the body and brain.
As I mentioned, breathing is important. So every few exercises, we'll stop and we'll do some breathing. Take a deep breath, raise your hands up, produces oxygen, gets into your brain, gets into your bloodstream. There's so many studies out. It's good for bronchitis, it's good for asthma, it's good for depression.
A typical session is an hour long, featuring clapping, breathing, childlike playfulness, and laughter exercise. So what's your favorite laugh?
I don't know if I've had one yet. I like the lion one a lot.
What's the lion?
The lion one. We didn't do it tonight. I'm sorry. The lion. Want to do it with me?
Okay.
The lion one is, these are our claws, okay? You open your mouth nice and wide, and you stick your tongue out.
Aren't you afraid that if we keep on inducing laughter, we push it out of us when it does not associate with the particular thing that triggers such a reaction? We may lose that reaction on things that actually makes us laugh.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
It has not happened to you yet,
No,
right?
no.
Okay. So how do you help your students take these lessons, this moment, to take it home with them, to take it to their jobs, to take it to grocery store, to take it to Dunkin' Donuts when somebody messes up your order? How do you help them realize that they can still laugh?
If you laugh more often, then you sort of are building up the inner child. You're producing the feel-good hormones, and you can kind of foster the inner joy inside of you.
Laughter yoga is free. You may join Doug on Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. at Roland Thatcher Hall in Wareham.
Bring water and dress comfortably because it's an active show.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now think about what's your favorite laughter. We're going to take a break and we'll be back.
we're back with another Summer of Love podcast episode. I'm here with Amy, who is the violinist, but she also has a lot of other talents within Forever Young. And she just played here at the VFW tonight. So, how are you doing, Amy?
Great, we had a fun night. It was a great crowd tonight.
Do you play often in this town or in this area?
We're playing in Plymouth in a couple of weeks, and we play around different places. Southern Rhode Island, sometimes we're in Massachusetts.
That's awesome. What inspired you to be a part of a tribute band for Neil Young?
I heard this band for a while before I joined it, and I really liked it, and I love the music, and they were, really high energy and a lot of fun, and so I knew John, and he asked me to join, and then I was like, sure, definitely. So it was great to join. I joined about 8 years ago.
So how have you grown as an artist being a part of the band for over 8 years?
I think my improvisation on the violin has improved a lot, and harmonizing and everything like that, and singing. So yeah, I mean, you just get better and better as a group too. You can learn to play with other people and get it to be really tight. So we all get along great, and we love to play together.
I know that the band has won many awards of being one of the best tribute bands in the area. Do you want to talk about your awards that you've won over the years?
They've won the Motif Magazine Award Best Tribute Band a number of times. And there was another award near Boston, I think it was the Limelight Music Award.
Is there anything you want to talk about, how you love performance and just what got you into performance in general?
Well, I studied music in college, and I was always studied violin from being a kid, but I also like to sing, and I took voice lessons in college. And started to branch out of classical music and play with other people with the violin and sing. And started to pick up a little bit of guitar to sing, so I wanted to play out in the public and sing more, so it was a lot of fun, and just learning different kinds of music is a lot of fun too.
Is there anything else that you would like to say tonight, or about just your performance in general?
I just think this is a great community, and we had a blast, and the really high energy audience was wonderful tonight.
Thank you so much, Amy, for interviewing. Check them out. They're going to be playing
September 7th at the Spire Center in Plymouth.
Thank you so much for meeting tonight, and this is our Summer Love podcast.
Welcome back. And now we are going to visit my favorite place on Main Street. That is Art Farm. Well, hello, Wareham. Today we're coming to you from Art Farm, which is located right on Main Street in Wareham. This place is where inspiration and creativity runs freely. With me is Diane Nzien, who is the owner of this beautiful property, and today we are her guests. Could we take a look at the property?
Of course you may. Thank you. Come on in.
Oh, why don't you take me to the moon? I'll fly with you in a balloon, and there you'll kiss me, and we will walk back to you.
Well, thank you so much for having us here today. I am very curious to learn about the history of this beautiful property.
I found out years ago when I first bought this property that it was part of the Toby homestead.
Yes.
Originally, which was a lot of farmland. And this area has a lot of stone walls in it that were built back in that time. I also found out that the backside of my stone wall is the marker for the old stagecoach road that used to bypass the hill before they had automobiles. This was actually called, and some people still call it South Wareham.
South Wareham.
This one section.
Okay.
Oh, this is just happening all too soon. My life looks like a cartoon, and then you kiss me, and I'm all stuck with you.
Now, you told me before, you said when you came here the first time you saw this property, it wasn't so promising, but you looked beyond that, and part of it is due to how you were raised, where you came from.
Right.
So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, growing up, I had 3 brothers, and one of them loved the outdoors, and he was nice enough to take his little sister with him all the time. So I learned a lot about the outdoors from my brother David, and pollywogs and salamanders and all those fun things, and my mother was appalled.
Yeah.
Her first daughter was coming home with things in her pockets. But that's initiated my love of the outdoors.
After 31 years working for the post office, Diane retired. Her current work revolves around her garden, growing her artwork. She opened up Art Farm stand this summer, inviting the public to admire, learn, and be inspired. Featuring photographs from her garden, painted slates, herbs, Cape Cod decor wreath, and more. Each art piece is unique.
This one here is from a 600-year-old barn. They took the roof slates off a 600-year-old barn, and this was from Montana. And they're thicker than the ones that you find around here, because every quarry does it different, and depending on where they're going to be building, what they wanted for the size and the thickness of the slate.
You could tell, it's so layered.
Oh, this is just happening all too soon. My life looks like a cartoon, and then you kiss me, and I'm all stuck with you.
This.
I love the story about this.
All right, these are smudge kits. The Native Americans and a lot of other native cultures across the world actually have similar practices. What they do in Native America is you take a shell from the local beach, and then they take herbs like sage, and what they do is you dry the sage, and you can crumple it up, and you put it in the base of the shell.
Okay.
And then you light the shell, and it will smolder.
Yeah.
Just make the smoke. And you take a native feather, and this is a wild turkey feather, and what you do is it's a ceremony of blessings. You wish good blessings or positive energy on your home, on your family, when someone's sick, when you have a new baby, anything. It's a way of celebrating life and to spread positive is what it is. Some people say it's more about getting rid of the negative. The way I look at it, it's more spreading the positive.
Yes.
If you spread the positive, you automatically get rid of the negative, right?
Forever and never till the end of time.
My posted hours are 11 to 6, Thursdays through Saturdays.
Very good. Well, as for that, this concludes our tour. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. Bye.
Do, 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 you.
Bub's comment was I looked like a flower garden with that outfit. Anyhow, so Thanksgiving, oh, that's a far stretch. Harvesting is coming up very soon. By coming up, it's sometime in September, I believe. Right, Bob? September. Starts in September. Lukewarm in September. Anyhow, we have a great video that showcases the cranberry industry in Wareham, and we have the Cranberry Experimental Center right here in Wareham that works to secure the vitality of the industry. So here's a little bit about the Cranberry Experimental Center. From the bogs, the vines, to the berry, cranberries are one of the most unique fruits, and its industry influences the economy and character of southeastern Massachusetts. Cranberries are so important that there is an entire department, nope, an entire facility dedicated just for their survival. That place is nowhere but right here in Wareham. Just off Spectacle Pond Road at One State Bog Road in East Wareham stands the UMass Cranberry Station. This affiliate of the University of Massachusetts Amherst traces back to 1911 under the guardianship of Dr. Henry Franklin. For longer than 100 years, the station has been conducting experiments and research on behalf of the cranberry industry in Massachusetts.
Our whole mission is to really provide whatever horticultural resources and solutions that the growers need in order to remain viable within this area, and to also have environmental stewardship, so that we, think about the citizens that live in this area and the impact that our industry has.
Using experiments, the center helps farmers to be flexible with the industry's demands. Currently, farmers are under pressure to produce a certain quality of berry, distinguished by color and firmness, a task that has fallen on Dr. Giverson Mupambe.
But sometimes what we've noticed in the past seasons that growers are struggling to get that color. So these plant growth regulators that we're thinking about, we're thinking specifically of abscisic acid, which has been shown to improve the anthocyanin concentration. So anthocyanin is the pigment that gives the fruit its red color.
Dr. Mupambe is searching for whether improving formation of anthocyanin may produce the right shade of redness. Furthermore, he is studying canopy management.
Because the other factor when you think about fruit colors, you need light penetration into your canopy. How much light penetration do you get in the canopy, and does that result in a more uniform coloring within the canopy? So normally if you go in the canopy and you open it up, you find that the berries at the bottom of the canopy, usually they struggle to color up, even when you have like a nice uniform red color on the top. And we think some of that has to do with the lack of light penetration into the bottom of the canopy.
There is also the challenge of climate change. Take anthocyanin, for example. The color pigment is triggered by light penetration, but mostly by cooler temperatures. Our most recent winters haven't been favorable.
I don't know if you remember last September, we probably had 6 or 7 nights. It didn't go below 70 degrees, and that's way too warm. And so what's happening is that the color doesn't develop, and the handlers want you to bring in a fruit that has a certain amount of red pigment, because that's what cranberries are known for. So you're waiting for the color development, but the longer the fruits stay out in the bog, the greater chance that they're going to lose quality, because they're going to start succumbing to fruit rot.
The abundance of rainfall also has proved irresponsible, at times flooding the vines, which can lead to fruit loss. Though irrigation is important, specifics matters, as Dr. Peter Jerenyama explains.
You can't grow a plant without water. But then the question becomes, how much water do we need to put in there? Because we have a tendency of over-irrigating. Like, there's this notion that cranberry requires 1 inch of water a week, 1 inch of water per week. But that is not based on any scientific reasoning.
So Dr. Jerenyama and his colleagues have come up with something called evaporated demand, a way to determine the exact amount of water needed at a given time.
Right here, I'm carrying one of the sensors. This is called a tensiometer. You can view this like a big, a giant root in the soil. So it has a ceramic tip. So having a ceramic, so you put this device in the soil, and the water is going to be absorbed through the ceramic tip. And the amount of water that is taken into the cylinder will equate to a certain amount of pressure that will be recorded on a recording device. So we've come up with a relationship between stress levels based on the tension that you get in the soil. So the wetter the soils are, the lower the tension is going to be. And the drier the soils are, the greater the tension is going to be. So that's why we know when it is too wet or when it is too dry.
The center is also helping farmers harvest berries that can make the weight. Currently, the incentive starts at $4.55 to $5.50 kilogram per millimeter. What have you seen in terms of maybe trends with pesticides? What is threatening the berry at the moment?
So our trends with pesticides have been moving away from very toxic, broad spectrum, particularly insecticides, to things that we call reduced risk, that are more targeted.
We do have some cranberry insects that are pests, and a lot of them. Because it's a native fruit, we have 25 different insect pests. He's rolled up because he's been eating cranberry all day. There's a gypsy moth there, and then another cutworm. Cranberry weevil is a tiny insect that has been causing a lot of trouble this year. We do have to put on sprays to manage these insects, or they will eat all of your flowers and you will get no cranberries. So in entomology, we have 25 or 30 different insects that we're always thinking about. And there are new insects like scale. If you can imagine that you have your upright and there's something that looks like that on there, so you can't even see it unless it's under the microscope. This is a new insect that we haven't seen in 80 years, so that one's kind of cool. And right now the crawlers, little babies, are being released out of there, so that's another problem for the growers.
Why are they coming back after 80 years?
Either because there's climate change and good conditions for them, or we're not using broad spectrum pesticides anymore where we're spraying and killing everything so that there's the opening for them, or we have new varieties that are softer tissued and give them the option. We don't know.
Are there any pesticides that are good for the berry?
We do have a number of insecticides now that instead of being broad spectrum, they're specific to the insect. And yes, the one that we have, cranberry fruitworm, which is a little moth that lays its egg on the berry as it's developing, we have a new compound called Altacor that doesn't hurt bees, doesn't hurt us, but targets just that fruitworm. So we feel that that's the magic new insecticide that we have that has really helped us out. Of course, it costs about $50 an acre, so it's expensive for the growers.
The services and research conducted here are available to farmers for free. The center helps farmers connect to the bottom line on the cost saved and the money made if they choose to implement the knowledge. But lately, knowledge hasn't been enough as the industry faces substantial doubts. Would you say the industry is flourishing?
No, not at all. The industry is very much struggling at this time because there's an oversupply of fruit, and so prices are depressed. And so it's predicted that for the majority of the industry this year, growers will be paid less per barrel than it costs them to produce that barrel. So we figure it costs maybe $25 to $30 a barrel to produce it. Growers are probably going to be paid $20 or less. So they'll actually be losing money for every barrel of cranberries that they produce.
So then they come to you and they from what you told me, the industry is struggling. They're facing an enormous amount of stress from the handlers.
Yep.
So what do they say to you?
And what do we say to them? I mean, you know, what's really hard about this industry is that we know a lot of our growers. I mean, you know, some of them are friends, and at least
growers are pushed to diversify in order to supplement their income. Currently, an area of interest is on renewable energy. Tell me about the research when we're looking at renewable energy. How does it fit in with the cranberry bogs?
So, well, and then again, that's a great question. If you drive just down 495, you'll see that there's some windmills out there. So some of the growers are looking into wind energy, again, to supplement their farm income, which is on a downward trek, unfortunately. And then solar farms are something that some growers are looking at. There's the dual-use SMART program, which the state is looking for, trying to provide some ways for farms to diversify so they can have alternate forms of income. So that's one way. It's still very much in a fledgling state. You know, there are not any cranberry projects yet where they're still trying to grow cranberries with the solar panels on top of them.
To briefly summarize the UMass Cranberry Center, think of it as a hospital, strictly for the cranberries. Whether you are a grower or just a consumer, there is so much to be learned about this northern native perennial berry. So it seems like there are a lot of cool things that are happening here. I will call them miracles, but how far can your work extend? What can you not do in regards to the berry?
Well, as far as us specifically here, we don't do any genetic breeding here. A lot of that work is going on down in New Jersey at Rutgers University or out at the University of Wisconsin. So they actually have breeding programs because, as you could imagine, with a perennial woody fruit, it's a long-term commitment to be able to do that. And so we felt as the industry, it's expensive, and just to have it located in those two areas works well. We don't do anything that involves product development. You know, food science, we specifically don't do those kinds of things, nor anything directly related to health benefits. So we're really very horticultural, production, pest management oriented.
The center's current projects include, but not limited to, researching solar panels on cranberry bogs, using drones to map plant stress in order to evaluate irrigation techniques, understanding the biology of scale, all while keeping an eye on climate change. Good morning, Wareham. We're broadcasting live from our WCTV studio in Wareham. This is your show, your source for morning news, local news, weather, traffic, and more information. And now for a moment in history, let's take a look at where we were today in history. So we have really sad history this morning, especially these first two. Anyhow, today in American history, the infamous murder of Emmett Till occurred in 1955. Emmett was a 14-year-old boy from Chicago who was visiting Mississippi when he was allegedly flirted with a white woman. Family members of said woman took Emmett, kidnapped him, beat him, and shot him, and threw his body in the river, leaving him practically unrecognizable. His body was sent home to his mother in Chicago, and she notably had an open casket funeral so everyone could see the horribly racist act that the perpetrators had committed. The two men accused of the murder were found not guilty, which sparked some outrage. Not until in 2017 did the woman of the story admitted that Emmett Till never harassed her. And today in 1963, exactly 8 years after Emmett Till's murder, that helped spark the civil rights movement, 200,000 people took part in the march on Washington for jobs and freedom. This historic march was led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was best highlighted by his "I Have a Dream" speech. The leaders of the march met with President Kennedy after the event, which was successful for both parties because it seemed that Kennedy's civil rights bill was closer to passing. This bill would be passed at the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed discrimination based on race. For today's birthday, we are making a shout out to Jack Kirby, born in 1917. The comic book artist was a partner of Stan Lee and well-respected creator in his own right, having hand in making some of the extremely popular Marvel characters that fill the theater seats today, including Black Panther and Captain America. His works still inspire people to this day. And that's all for today in the history segment. To learn more cool historical facts, you can visit them online under history.com. Stay with us. The coffee segment is next, but we're going to take a short, brief break, and we'll be back. Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is the coffee segment, our live chat. With me today is Karen McHugh, who is passionate about healthy cooking and healthy eating while not hurting your bank account. Anyhow, let's welcome our guest. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Nice to have you. Now, we met when you were hosting your cooking segment.
Yes.
So tell me how you got started, why healthy cooking is important.
Well, I have a basic background in biology and health. I actually used to teach biology and health in local school systems for quite a while as a high school teacher, including Old Rochester Regional for 3 years. Love those people.
Nice.
And anyway, it's just something that's gradually come into my life over many years, but I've been told going back to my high school years, I was always concerned about what people ate, and I was, I guess, quite critical about what people ate as a young, brash teenager. But anyway, time goes on, and I have found myself creating more and more recipes or using more and more recipes that are healthy. I'm not aware that I'm not getting any younger, and now that I'm officially sort of retired, I have the time to really look at what I serve my family and how good it tastes, and I got the idea that, gee, other people might benefit from this. I go to the supermarket and sometimes see people who clearly are not in great shape, and they've got the bags, the carts loaded with all kinds of junk food, and it just drives me crazy. So I said, gee, how about if I do a show and present some simple ideas, because a lot of people still working, they're working very hard, they don't have a lot of time, and would they appreciate learning to make some simple, healthy dishes that won't, as you said, break the bank account, which is where the word cheap comes from. I could say inexpensive, but I just thought it went better in the title. So that's how that came about, just a lifelong interest that developed, and now I have the time to try to get the information out there. And once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher, and you're always trying to educate people. So here I am.
Yeah, and normally the argument is that healthy eating costs a lot of money, and it surely does. I mean, if the last time I shopped at Whole Foods, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
And you figure if this is good for me, but you always have to balance if you can afford it or not.
Exactly.
But there's also the notion that healthy foods don't taste well. So tell me how you change people's minds on that case.
Change their minds by feeding them food that does taste good, and then they ask questions about it. So the recipes that I have on the first episode that we just finished filming, along with the ones that I plan to create over the next few weeks, are foods that are time tested with my family. We know we like them, we know they're delicious, and I love some of these higher end stores like Whole Foods, but they are expensive, and I only go there for special items. But you can go right down the street to your local supermarket and find very healthy raw ingredients to make healthy food that, again, I've time tested it, and I'm not trying anything new in the show. I learned my lesson at home on that. Don't present something to people unless you've had it yourself many times. So I know that with the right herbs and spices and cooking times and raw ingredients that go together well, it will taste good, and you can afford it.
You can afford it, okay. So you've been doing this, experimenting with this at home.
Oh, yes.
So tell me some of the things that you have made.
I make pretty much everything. The last year or so, I've been spending a lot of time trying to understand how to cook meat. So frankly, that won't be on the show because that's still a process. I'm still struggling with how to cook a really good piece of steak and getting the right cut. But what I have done is a lot of chowders. So my first show is a fish chowder. And because we live in this phenomenal part of Massachusetts where you can go out and harvest your own fish, you can use the quahogs or the clams or the blue crabs, whatever you have, or whatever you pick up at the supermarket. We'll be doing a couple of chili shows for chicken and hamburger meat. So those are, you can't mess those up too much. They're not that hard to cook, and those will be crock pot foods. And I'm not quite sure yet what else we'll do, but I'm picking simple ingredients that I know you'd have to go to a lot of trouble to do it incorrectly. And if you time it right, you should get something that's tasty. But it is, again, based on experimentation, so what I'm presenting will be foods that I know will work for you and everybody else who's watching.
Now, you mentioned meat, you mentioned steak, hamburger, and all of that. Now, when it comes to healthy eating, not even cooking, you see a lot of dietary restrictions people impose on themselves, thinking it's the right thing.
Right.
Being a vegetarian, being a vegan, okay, cutting back all these things that they feel are the wrong, well, gets them that heavy body that they do not want.
Yeah.
What is your take on food restrictions such as those?
Well, you've said sort of self-imposed. I don't believe in that. I think you need to speak to your physicians and find out what they recommend. I say that at the beginning of the first show was whatever I tell you is not replacing what your physicians or your nurses or your dietitians are telling you, particularly with people with chronic conditions like diabetes, for example, or with known risk factors that run in their family, heart disease issues. Talk to your physician and find out what can and can't be on your list of food. Vegetarian, and I'm not real familiar with pure vegan, but I know vegetarian. I know a lot of very healthy people who are vegetarians, but you need to know what you're replacing your proteins with. You get a lot of protein from meats and chickens and fishes. So you need to talk to an expert to find out what your substitutes are. So I wouldn't recommend anyone just randomly decide that this is the diet for me. I think you need to talk to the professionals first before you then work out something that's balanced. It's always about balance. You need your proteins, you need your sources of vitamins and minerals and things like that. And you need some, at least initially, some expert advice on what foods give you those nutrients that you need in your body. And then look at recipes that would fulfill all of those requirements.
Okay. Now, when you're talking about healthy eating, I see it's a huge struggle in our culture, Western culture, where food has become fashion. It's no longer to fulfill you, right? Just from my own history, coming from Tanzania, we would have porridge before we go to school. And full of starch, you know, but also you put butter in there so you get the fat and all that. But there wasn't a donut. There wasn't peanut butter and jelly or something like that. You have so many options here. So how do you work on changing, once again, changing people's minds to realize that they can still eat healthy without having to let go their favorite things or having to really close their eyes from all these delicious recipes that are popping out every single day?
Well, there are a lot of delicious looking recipes, and whether or not they work with your health conditions, that's one thing. Whether or not you can afford them is another. So that's why we'll be trying to present some foods that are affordable. But when you mentioned peanut butter and jelly, here's a classic case. By the plain, what they call hydrogenated peanut butters, where you buy it's already smooth, you don't have to stir it, and you buy an inexpensive jar of strawberry jelly, and then you buy a flat piece of white bread with no extra nutrients in it. No, you don't have to do that. You can take that favorite and buy yourself some peanut butter that needs to be stirred, so you have the natural oils in it. They also tend to have far less sugar. You buy a natural fruit spread. It'll cost you a little bit more than buying a big jar of the less expensive jelly, but you'll get more out of it because there's so much more flavor in it. And then you buy a simple whole grain bread. You don't have to go out and buy a bread that has all kinds of seeds in it. You can just get a basic 100% whole wheat bread. It'll cost you very little, if anything more, than your standard white bread. So there's your PB&J on healthy bread with healthy peanut butter and a much better, healthier fruit spread. So that's one idea. I think it kind of depends on what you're talking about. You don't need to go out, in my opinion, with the kids and buy big bags of Cheetos. Make some popcorn at home. You can get microwave popcorn that's plain and add some things like a little bit of dried Parmesan cheese on it rather than load it up with a lot of butter. Yes, those things taste good, but they're not necessarily healthy for you. I've also been very fortunate. I've been able to travel around the world and spend some time in Europe and in Asia, and I've seen how other cultures eat and how so often the focus is on raw products rather than prepackaged sort of junk food. And they somehow seem to be pretty happy eating, but they use a lot more raw ingredients. And so they've not made a transition. Here, you're right. We'd be making a transition in many cases from something we're used to something that's a little bit different. It's experimentation, little by little. Take that recipe on TV or in the magazine, see what you can afford, but also pay attention to what the ingredients are in it and if they're healthy, and then just start doing some research online or by watching TV shows where we try to present alternatives to these higher priced or over-processed foods and make that transition little by little, and understand that it may take your taste buds a little bit of time to get used to the change. And then you say, gee, I didn't realize I was going to like this.
Absolutely. I found it when I started cutting sugar from my tea. And then at the beginning it was tasting so awful. Even salt. And nowadays, when I visit back Tanzania, and they love their salt, right? And it's like, I asked them, make my food, don't put any salt in it.
Yep.
Because the last time I said put a little salt, their version of a little salt, my tongue was screaming.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, don't put any salt.
Yep.
But then you get to that point, and that becomes your comfortable state.
Right.
How do we, and we have 3 minutes, how do you bring those changes? School, today's the first day of school.
Oh, yeah.
How do we bring those changes to these students who are going to have school lunches?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge project because you're talking about funding for the foods that are pre-made. I think that that becomes a very big project for student and parents who are interested in good nutrition to try to bring alternatives to the school. I honestly have never tried to do that. It's an extremely valuable project for sure. I think it's great if the kids can come to school with healthy foods that they've made, and so maybe I'll do a lunch show. I think it just gave me a good idea to do a school lunch program of things that the kids can bring and inspire other students. And other than that, I think we're talking about meeting with school committees to say, what can we do to look at alternative programs for school lunches, which then impacts the school budgets. That's a really difficult thing, but I think if the kids set an example by bringing healthy foods from home, they can do that. So thank you. I'm going to do a show on school lunches.
Very good. So do we know when your episode will be coming out?
Hopefully soon. We're going to finish up, thanks to the fabulous people at this station. They're just so wonderful. We're going to finish the editing hopefully next week. So I would say within a week or two, the first episode will be on. And then we're planning to film 2 more on the 10th, 2 more shows. One will be on chilies, and the other is going to be on school lunches. Thank you very much. So I'll try to get those wrapped up and edited hopefully by the end of September. It's a lot of work to do what I found, but it's been a lot of fun learning. But it's not real quick.
Thank you so much.
And can I bring up my?
How much time do I have?
This is what I'm missing on my first show. If you watch it, this is called a splatter screen. And I forgot to bring one on the first show. This is a great cooking utensil, and it keeps you from splattering grease from the top of your pan. So this, when you see the first show, this is what we're talking about.
Thank you
It's a splatter
so much.
guard screen, yeah. Thank you.
Anyhow, to my viewers, thank you for joining us this morning. My guest was Karen McHugh, here to talk about healthy cooking and healthy eating. If you missed us this morning, this episode will re-air this evening at 6 p.m. We'll be back on Friday with more. Have a pleasant day, Wareham. Bye.